Okay, sir. Thank you, Mr. Narahari. Okay, so thanks for allocating your time for us. Now,
Thank
the
you,
objective
Subbu.
of this particular video is to explore the opportunities in third-party risk and third-party security. Obviously, this is something which I have not heard 3 or 4 years back. Okay, and
Okay.
off late, everybody is speaking about third-party risk. I understand. I
Mm.
usually in my classes I give an example. Even though the food we are ordering in Zomato and Swiggy is being
Okay.
prepared by somebody else, but we are eating it. If
Right.
they may make a mistake, okay, so we will fall sick. Okay, so even in normal life, we ensure that okay, we cannot trust. Okay, there's always a questionable trustworthiness when it comes to somebody offering us something. Okay, and
Yeah.
obviously when it comes to an organization where we are taking care of the cyber security, data security, and then we are speaking about the days of privacy, etc. We cannot trust anybody. But even if you look at the GDPR or any of the Data Protection Act, we have processor, sub-processor. Okay, then we have controllers. So for a controller, processor, and sub-processor, all third party. So we cannot literally trust anybody. The data is also outbound and inbound. Okay. Now, with just a short introduction about yourself, can you explain us the direction in which the world is actually going with respect to the third party security?
Sure. Okay. So thanks, Subbu. Good to have this conversation. So happy to share my uh, awareness, thoughts, and my experience in this very interesting topic of third-party security.
Yes.
So if you look into this cybersecurity world, right? Okay. So how it evolved? Okay. So it evolved over a period of time. Okay. So I remember working on dumb terminals to migrate to the GUI based 95, 98 NT. Then we got into this antivirus systems way back in, I remember 1997, 98. Then we moved into the firewalls, which is going to be software firewalls, Checkpoint, NG, Checkpoint 2000. Then it was hardware-based firewall, everything. That time it was called information security. Then when the industry started adopting this technology, there's a lot of players in the market, system integrators. Okay, then financial institutions started adopting technology. They started deploying these tools. So something is called customized software development. Another thing is off-the-shelf products. Then
Yes, see,
we got
just
this.
to maybe sorry to stop you, but as you rightly said, in '97 I was working for Hyundai Motor India. We had checkpoint firewall and not an antivirus.
Yes,
So they asked us, "You have security? Yeah, yeah, we have security. What
yes,
security? We
right,
have a checkpoint firewall, not an antivirus." Okay, very good. Okay,
yes,
but now even
right. So
if you have hundreds of tools, it is just not enough.
yes, right.
Yeah.
So now, then this famous things happened. Okay, this Lehman fiasco happened, and a few other fiasco happened. Then we got this all these regulatory things started coming up, right? Okay, we had this SOX coming on. Then UK started putting in this PRA, FCAs. Then we have NYDFS. These are the European Union act also started coming up. So we started seeing Western countries started putting in a lot of regulatory controls around how the information is going to be handled. Then came the GDPR, data protection, other stuff. So this is only going towards the Western world, right? So then the Asian countries also started adopting regulatory requirements. So for example, Hong Kong has HMA, HKMA. Then we have Singapore have the MAS. And then we have Malaysia has its own act. If you go to South Africa, it has a POPI Act. We have India, we have a Cyber IT Act way back in 2000. Then it got evolved over a period of time. Then we have the draft DPTP. So when we look into all these things, okay, so it doesn't talk about the institution per se. It talks about the data, like overall, if you
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
Now, in this the world of data, who actually process the data, who have access to the data, who have overall data controller, the typical term which we can use in the data privacy, right? Okay. So if we could do all these things, the system integrators and the external service providers play a major role, not only in the private institutions, but also in the government institutions as well. That's where the third-party cybersecurity, information security started playing a bigger role now. So if we pick any uh, global country regulations, supplier security is one of the key areas which is always the weak link. Because if you go to the bank, everyone knows bank has a solid cybersecurity team. They have millions and millions of dollars pumped into the infrastructure to protect their assets. Now,
Yeah.
what is the weakest link? The weakest link is a third party because the information is always shared with third party, be it the software, be it the tool for the customization, or be the data, or even for the printing the checks, printing the credit card numbers. All those elements are done externally. Our print statements also done externally, not by the bank. It's by some small firm or the big firm, they outsourced. So third-party security started playing a bigger role. I remember started working on the third-party security way back in 2000, say 12, sort of thing. That's where many of the global financial institutions started building the team for the cyber security they already have.
Okay.
But a specific third-party security term was coined way back in 2000, say 10 something. That's what I remember. It started coming into a very nascent stage. It's just built up over a period of 2 years. Now, when many of the institutions started building their third-party security, they started building the separate contract schedule for the third-party security as well. So there are specific
Okay.
clauses, there are specific schedules which are included in the contract, calling out what are the bare minimum baseline requirements which the third-party institution need to have in place in their environment to provide the service. So that's where the third-party security started building over a period of time. Now I can see so past 20 years or so, it's now in the very good stage actually. So even if we look into the very recent stage of the third-party security, European Union have come out of the DORA Act. Okay, this is nothing but a Digital Operational Resilience Act,
Yeah.
which came into effect last month, which means that any financial institution providing service to the banks need to have kind of a proper security infrastructure, security controls, which also includes for the third party. So they must comply with this. There is no exceptions or whatsoever. So that's how the third party security has evolved in past 20 years, as far as I know. So sorry to keep the larger note, but I thought it's not very simple to explain. So I thought I took a time to give some bigger overview of this. Thank you.
Okay. No, because see, if I actually, because of being in the training industry for last 12 to 14 years,
Okay.
people have started asking me about third-party security only for last 1 year. Now, before that, it's all, then there was a wave of data protection, then there was a wave of CISSP. Okay, then, now people are asking about operational resilience. Okay, because the Europeans are touching upon that. And people have started to dig deep into ISO 27036, which is the sub-relationship security for the IT, and we have separate standard of 28,000, which is into supply chain security. So people have started to look into all this to build their career. Excuse me, all this to build their career. Now, what I noticed is, people, if they are from BFSI domain, especially, they have they had been very serious about it. But what I actually noticed it, even the GDPR says the controller, processor, sub-processor, etc. The processor and sub-processor anyway third party, for the controller. So third party security is something which becomes inseparable component, okay, from for cyber security. ISO was touching upon this on the supplier security, but now there's a guideline document which everybody started referring to. And every standard that we come across in cybersecurity, it touches upon the supply relationship. Okay, but generally, because you are, for with the rich experience from the banking industry, has there been any particular standard that the banks actually prefer to follow? Okay, maybe they are. Every country could be different. Okay, because we have SAMA guideline in Saudi Arabia, and every country is actually coming up with something different. So any particular guideline which you feel, okay, this is more matured, okay, in terms of we following it, which covers almost every other aspect of the other standards?
No, we rightly mentioned about this ISO standards for the supply chain security. Actually, if you
Okay.
see, that's one thing. But if we are going to refer to specific standards, uh, but I can refer to the many of the global regulatory requirements and standards. If you
Okay.
look into the HKMA, if you look into the MAS, if you look into PRA, FCA, NYDFS, there are broader and high-level requirements for the supply chain third-party security requirements. That is one of the reason many of these financial institutions, insurance or the banking or other NBFCs have started focusing more on supply chain security because the way the
Okay.
information is handled from the data privacy context, yes, because data privacy is all principle based. Okay, it gives a high level principle based, policy based uh, requirements and the compliance requirements. But the implementation of those things are done by purely with the technology. And
Okay.
technology comes in, yep, sorry,
So the technology comes in. Sorry, I was saying
yeah,
yes. Yeah.
yeah. And when technology comes in, then obviously the cybersecurity comes in. So when the cybersecurity comes in, okay, so obviously, yes, always the you rightly pointed out the external party is playing a good amount of role in supporting the institution. So now it's all about how the institution provide access to this supplier users. Okay, if they're going to be work within the environment, okay, so it's like they are sit next to our desk, the access is okay. But still, is it really okay that they can get access like any other perm staff? May not be the case. That's the reason many of the security awareness training, mandatory tests all comes in part of the play when any of the third-party users start accessing the information. Now,
Okay.
how exactly does it really help when the large number of user base sits outside the environment and how they access? So, how the network has been configured, how the endpoint systems are being configured, how secure they are. Are they having the bare minimum baseline security requirement standard? So here within this environment institution, we have password change requirements, we have strong access control mechanisms, we have strong encryptions, we have strong firewall rules and everything. But once the information lands in the third party network, how exactly they manage? Are they encrypting those information? Where they, how they provide access? What are the password security changes? Other two-factor authentications? How the exactly IAM controls works? How they're segregating their internal environment? So all those things are the key parameters and requirements which people started looking at it. So if we look into the history of say 10 years, mostly if we see, okay, there is a particular information breach or second data breach are actually coming in into the light.
Okay.
So, but actually where these breaches has happened, is it exactly on the that particular institution's network or is it via the third party? So mostly if we read through these articles, the public domain, we can really see that uh, the institution has been uh, say hacked or gained access, unauthorized access to the third-party network. If we look into 2014, 2015, there was a very famous thing which came out as a APT-10 attacks,
Hmm.
right? So what is the APT-10 attack is all about? Even many of the regulators, even the regulator network also breached that time.
Okay.
So then the UK government, the PRA and FCA came out and said, okay, they asked us to reconfirm. We have to go and talk to the service providers, having access to the network and confirm, okay, there is no such breaches happened for the network. Because this was directly, I had a conversation, many of this with the regulators that point in time to ensure, okay, such breaches not has happened for the particular service provider to their network. So that's
Okay.
how the importance of that party security control came in. Though it is considered and understood is part of some of the portion, it is seen as one of the key parameters and one of the key risks. If you look into the DORA, the five pillars it has called out. One of the key thing is about the supply chain security.
No, that is actually good, right? We don't face the same problem again.
Yeah.
And I was about to ask you, is there any law that has been enacted with respect to the third party security? But that shows the maturity of the country, okay, in handling the data. GDPR came, and before that, there were OECD and European Union data protection directive. That was not getting much of the prominence because it was not a law, it was just a
Yeah.
guideline.
Yeah.
But when GDPR came, everybody started looking at it in a very serious way, okay? Then everybody adopted it. CCPA and GDPR came almost
Right.
on the same year, okay, the few
Correct.
months difference. But the amount of popularity that the GDPR actually had, it impacted the countries that were doing their business. So Saudi Arabia has come up with PDPL, okay, 2 years back. Okay, Singapore has got PDPA, Malaysia has got data protection law, Kuwait has got it. Now India is coming up with DPDP. Okay, so everybody is following it. Now, once the DORA is out, okay, it's always better to not reinvent the same wheel, right? We can look at
Yeah.
another country, see what they are actually implementing, learn the video SWOT analysis, okay, what were our weaknesses are, threats are, okay, we are going to build it. We are going to have better implementation, is what I look into it. Okay, so because we had HIPAA, now Disha is coming up in India, which is complaints with the medical industry. No, this third party, okay, now is a part of the DORA, but any other country, that it's a part of the law, the third party security?
I'm not sure or heard of it. Then I have to go and find it out. As to
No,
my
I don't think
knowledge,
so.
there is no
I
specific law. There's no
law as
specific
such,
law
right?
per se as such. But why? Maybe I would assume because many of the country regulations have included the third-party supply chain security as part of their clauses
Okay,
requirements actually. So there may not be a separate enactment of a law for a
okay,
specific country or as such to go through this because when we have privacy law, it covers security. We have
correct.
looked at the Data Privacy Act or other thing, the Country Regulatory Act, it covers the security. So when the definition of data processor, data accessor, subprocessor includes or in directly or directly refers to anyone who have access to data, it includes third
100%.
party as well.
100%. 100%. I understand. Okay. So, though there is no separate law as such for third party security, but if you look at the GDPR, it
Yeah.
includes the third party security
Yes.
in an indirect way because you
Correct.
cannot separate it outside when you're having naming it as controller, processor, processor, etc.
Right.
Now,
So
yeah, sorry.
yeah. So when we refer a third party, right, okay, so we have to go into look into the right context, right? Okay, so why we even look into the third party is because they access the information. Information is all
Correct.
about that. If anyone have access to the information, then specific context, specific rules, controls need to be applied either by the organization or by the external organization. So the external organization play into play, the third party controls play into. So the remit is entirely within the organization which engages a third party entity to provide the service.
Okay.
Then automatically the obligation to ensure the data is secured falls on the entity. If it's going to financial
Okay.
institution, it's the obligations on the financial institution to ensure their customer data is secured appropriately. So now that is the reason they have their own invested in their own best interest. They invest on cyber security, information security, data protection, everything. And hence they also try to push it across as part of the contractual obligation requirements or the baseline requirements to the service providers as well. So the obligation entirely rests with these enterprises. So that's
I
how the
understand.
regulatory thing play a bigger role to push all these enterprises to secure the data.
Okay. So it is like, for example, if I am receiving a data from the third party, okay, from other company, the other company will ensure that I have sufficient security mechanisms in place to secure the data.
Yes.
Equally, when I'm going to give the data to another third party, it's also my responsibility to
Yes.
ensure that they have the security controls in place.
Correct.
So wherever whosoever is going to hold the data, okay, will have should have these controls. For
Correct.
example, if the controller is given to a processor, is giving the data to a processor, so can he also have this right to audit and right to penetration test, etc., as a part of the contract? Correct. Unless
Yeah,
otherwise he is convinced he cannot give the data to a third party,
right.
correct?
So all the contracts or do have right to audit clauses,
Okay.
as simple as that. And also to look into deeper into the process, right? Okay, so on your specific point, which is a very interesting point, right? You
Yeah,
made a reference of I get the data, then I further pass it on. That's
correct.
what the subcontracting comes in. So that we don't say as a fourth party. We refer
Correct.
to the nth party.
Okay.
Why we say this nth party, right? Okay. So I use a tool and I use this tool, then I pass on this tool development to an entity. And that entity engage another entity because they use some other software tools, freewares, open source, blah, blah, blah to develop.
Correct.
And they further engages few that. So it just the chain goes on. That's the reason we say supply chain, right? Okay. So when
Correct.
we go and refer to this nth party, then the obligation is put on the party which provides service to us, which they need to ensure and confirm, okay, the subcontractor which they engage. For us, it will be a fourth party. For them, it
Correct.
will be a third party.
Correct.
Ensures the controls are implemented and requirements are met throughout the entire chain till we started absorbing the end service
Correct.
or end product. So that's how the entire thing works. So even if you are going to say from the right to audit, it's by default it is included. And when we say right to audit, there are many other bigger organizations also have a spot audit kind of thing. If
Okay.
you say right to audit, it says, okay, we have to intimate 2 weeks back or 1 month back. We also say the requirements, everything. The spot audits, I remember being facing spot audits by some of the top institutions when I was in the service industry, say 15 years back, right?
Okay.
So BT and AT&T have a spot audit clause as such, so they can visit anytime in the particular quarter. They at the doorstep. I used to get a call. Hey, the auditor is there. They want to spend a day for
Mm.
doing assessment. So we have to rush. So this is just to ensure, okay, there is a consistency and there's a seriousness in securing their information data of what's with the process within our infrastructure. So if it is going to be the case, how the network is connected, how the data is accessed, data is processed, everything. So many other institutions have a direct connection. So there is the end terminal as well will have their own build. So for
Okay.
example,
Okay.
if so they have this called a tier one, they categorize tier one, tier two, tier, depending on the type of information, the classification information which the process as such. So right audit clause is there by default. And also uh, many of the institutions do have a clause. We can do a assessment of the fourth party as well,
Okay.
right? So that's dependent on the type of services, the classification of the information clause they process or
Okay.
they provide the service. So many doesn't have, only few have access to this. They agree to this because the obligation also happens. That is also that there is a tripartite agreement happens when the fourth party sees that okay is playing a major bigger role in providing a service to the enterprise. So then agree to the tripartite agreement that they do, for example, the hosting services and another software
Correct.
service provider, they host a particular tool, but the service provider is the external data center and they
Okay.
host the particular service. Then we also get into a tripartite agreement that who manages a particular rack, who manages the particular updates, frequent updates, who does all the software upgrades, updations, maintenance, and everything. So then it happens. So it again depends and varies depending on the types of services, the institutions they
Correct.
engage.
Correct. For example, if you are giving a data to another company, they are going to host it on cloud.
Yeah.
So the cloud service provider becomes the fourth party, is it? No.
Yes, correct. They become fourth party. Yes. So then we would be asking this particular third party to share us what kind of checks and balances they have done to
Correct.
ensure the information hosted in the cloud is secure, the data stored is secure, the software upgrades, maintenance thing is done in secure and appropriate manner.
No,
So
it's such a
double,
beautiful topic. You're right.
yeah,
Because I'll tell you something. For so many years, people were not looking into the third party. They were looking at their own security.
yeah,
Okay. And you get the data, but what is the surety that the data is pure? And you give the data, what is the surety that the data is going to be secure? Correct? Okay. At least there is a culture.
yeah,
Okay. Maybe you had been there in the industry with third party security for 10 to 12 years now.
yeah,
But at least for it's a buzzword. People want to get onto this third-party security manager certification.
yeah,
So just wondering why is that so popular? Now they are asking for it.
yeah.
Good.
So if we drill down the third party security, right? Okay, this is one of the rightly mentioned, so one of the buzzword you mentioned, but it's one
Correct.
of the key career options as well. Many of
Oh,
the career generations can pick it up because if you look at it, okay, so now we see okay, AIML is one, then we look into the cloud is another one. Then
correct.
then another thing is IAM, Identity Access Management. Then another supply chain security. Because if we
Correct.
see without these things, the current technology can't
Cannot
operate.
be.
So the entire ecosystem is built around this four or five, right? The entire
Correct.
ecosystem, technology ecosystem, or the business ecosystem, I would say by and large. Supply chain
Correct.
security automatically get imbibed whenever there's a cloud, whenever there is a AIML, whenever there's IAM, supply chain security automatically comes in.
Obviously. See, in fact, if you look at the bigger picture for the business, okay, I was, when you look at the business continuity, I'm looking at even the electricity provider as a supply chain. Right? If he's going to stop the supply, then without the power, there is no technology to work.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm just deviating, not focusing only on the IT portion of it. Supply chain security as such is a bigger umbrella, but we are focusing on the IT part of it.
Yeah.
Even the bigger umbrella depends upon the supplies of the electricity, etc. Right?
Yes,
So
that is the key we can't ignore. Reason is it get automatically validated through the data center controls. So if
correct,
at all we are going to look into the data center controls where it's going to be utilized, then again we rely on the controls like okay, physical security automatically plays a role, HVAC controls plays a role, what is it, fire controls of operation systems plays a role. So what kind of HFC systems they are using plays a role. So when we look into the data security, so it's very difficult to size it and say, okay, only from the information. Because when we talk about the data security, information security, we talk about the CIA. So if
correct,
availability, we are going to ignore it, then
correct,
power failure is an availability issue.
correct.
So that's the reason we talk about information security, cyber security. So this automatically would be seen as one of the key aspects, okay, how the nth party, that's what I refer to the word nth party, right? So how the nth party also is covered, how they are ensuring and securing the continuity of the service. Because if we say look at the DORA, this
Yeah,
is we say as a DR has evolved as a business continuity. Now business continuity is evolved as a resilience.
mm,
I'm talking about in past 25 years, how it has evolved, right? DR was only from the infrastructure perspective. Then came
correct,
the business continuity. Then came the resilience. Resilience is even something fails, I continue to operate. So my tools and systems are resilient to withstand a particular threat, right?
correct.
So when we talk about the resilience, DORA talks about the resilience. The term itself says Digital
Absolutely
Operational Resilience Act.
correct. That's
So
beautiful, actually. And in your experience, have you come across any incidents? Maybe at least you were in the same industry and same vertical, focusing on third-party risk and security. Any popular attacks that has happened across the world, and which was something from which people learned a lot with respect, or the importance of third-party security. It made an impact. In fact, CrowdStrike is also
yeah.
a third-party security issue. Okay, that's
Yeah,
something which
correct.
everybody faced. But other than that, in the last 10 years, any popular attacks on third-party
So
supply chain?
The British Airways is one thing. So if you do the Tesco attacks, we see other thing. I refer to this APT-10 attack way back in 2014, 2015. Then we have seen few other incidents, the ransomware attacks. Okay, so when uh, last year, I remember, I forgot this name of the third party. They're one of the top service providers to many of the banks. Forgot the name of the third party. Their network was attacked, and
Okay.
they have the MPLS connections. So hence our bank was okay, but many of the bank institution service was impacted because of the ransomware attack.
Okay.
So I forgot the name of the third party. It is out of the public domain. I'm not able to recollect. So there are
I also know those. Even when you go to the doctor, if you're sick, your doctor keeps thermometer in your mouth, that time you're okay. Na? So I was remembering it, but I forgot it now, actually.
so that's exact scenario, right? Because what is happening is okay. So the current ecosystem
Yeah,
is in such a way that okay that I have a service provider somewhere, say 4,000, 5,000 miles away, right? So
correct.
let's look into this banking sector itself, right? So as such, right? We have many of the American, European bank have their all the GCC global capability centers in India,
Yeah,
and many of these same banking service providers have the BPO operations in Philippines, Vietnam, all these countries, right? So when they are operating in back office operations and services, automatically the multicultural, what is a linguistic team gets involved, and the culture of the particular region also plays a bigger role, right? So, so if you look into the European culture and American culture, the letter and spirit is a key. Whatever is
okay.
written, they follow. But if you look into deep into the other cultures, it's all about the trust.
Mm.
Okay, so letter and spirit is one part. The trust plays a bigger role. So that is reason when we discuss with the team, okay, so here I trust you, but verify.
Yeah, zero trust.
So so trust is important. Yes, I trust, but we have to verify as well. So how you verify doing the frequent assessments, or say testing, other control testing, other stuff. That's how we do the verification. So this is how to is something I would say, right? Okay, so I've seen the first party, second party, third party audits, right? So when we go for as a second party audit, okay, when we are given some reports, okay, I have given the reports or my team has been given the reports, it is taken very seriously because they know
Okay.
they lose the business and they lose the trust, right?
Okay.
And they have some of the institutions taken a very tougher and weird decisions as well to move the individual to some other role or something else, right? Which is not the right thing to do because end of the day, the controls. So
Correct.
the institutions are taking it very seriously. So when we provide the requirements, documents, when we provide these are the requirements, the control requirements, they take it very seriously. But overall consistency is the key. So that's what many of the banking institutions are looking at. You have to
Okay.
consistently ensure the controls are implemented throughout the service period. Because it's not that okay, we have a strong posture
Mm.
wearing the making on a lighter note, okay, we wear suits, okay, during the assessment period, and we all in pajamas when the assessment is done. Right? So don't take
Correct.
it lightly after assessment period is gone. So you have to ensure the controls are implemented throughout the service period. Whenever
Absolutely.
whenever that changes has been implemented, whenever you make any change in infrastructure, whenever you do any proper upgrades, ensure controls are not dilute. That's the key.
That should be taken to the proper service management, no change approach, so that everybody get
Yes.
involved, do a verification, and then
Yes.
justification, and then we take it forward.
Yes.
Right. See, finally, what I had seen is and proper service management implementation. If it had been followed meticulously, okay, changes and service requests, incident handling, etc. Almost all the compliances will reach their maturity,
Yeah.
be it supply chain or cybersecurity, data protection. even the quality, whatever it is, the business continuity,
Yeah.
and we have metrics. With the metrics, we can actually go for an improvement. Is
Yes.
what I had seen.
Yes.
Anyway, Mr. Narahari, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Okay, I disturbed you on a Friday evening.
No, no,
Okay,
thanks. It's a pleasure. So it was good to have this conversation because this is a very evolving trend. And again, this is going to be the only one of the interesting and ever demanding within this industry because when we go into this AIML and other stuff, obviously it's nothing but the third party. So,
100%. Yes,
how I'm going to ensure my service provider who is using this artificial intelligence to provide service, the automation, again, a big word. When we talk about
correct.
automation, we talk about AI, So how I'm ensuring that my data is secure when automation tools are being used because we don't know what's behind the scenes happening from where
100%.
data is
Correct.
collected, how the data is being used, how it's processed, where it is
100%.
stored.
See, I think Tuesday we had a news that this deep seek is
Yeah.
attacked and we had a breach. And yesterday, this OpenAI has been attacked. There's a breach. Okay, so it's like looks like nobody's secure. But finally, we need to secure ourselves, right?
Exactly the point. So I think yesterday, I think I forwarded some article to
Yeah,
some of my colleagues, which is available. The root and the source code for the DeepSeek is also released. So there was a uh, attack happened. They released the source codes as well. So we know what's happening behind the DeepSeek. So that's the level of thing, right? Okay, so it's all helpful, useful things, but again, these are the part and parcel of the technology. It's ever
okay, yeah,
evolving.
yeah,
When technology ever always involves, we always see this kind of hurdles, issues. I think over a period of time, things will settle down. That's what the industry experts comes in play, support all these new technologies.
for
So
sure. They should
when,
learn and go forward. Yeah.
when yeah, one door opens, okay, we see our opportunity elsewhere. That's what it is.
But we should not be walking in the same building in the maze. Now, one door opens, the other door closes. But finally, we are the same point from where we started, actually.
No, that's what. So when door is closed, we have a window open. Right? People use the windows.
People are using only window. No, that's the problem, actually.
Yeah, right. That's the case.
Anyways, it's a
Great.
pleasure to have you with us.
Pleasure to speak to you, Subbu. Catch up.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else you want to add? I thought you want to say something, and I say
No, that's good. So all good. Yes. Fine.
anyway then. So thank you very much, and hope to see you for our third-party security training, sir. Okay, with the students waiting
Pleasure.
for you.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Subbu.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much, then.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye
Bye. You too.
bye.
Bye.